He lost my grandma's ring before our wedding. I found the pawn ticket in his truck next to a Parlay slip. I bought it back and sold the wedding. Intro. He must have lost it at the gym, he said, hand to heart, eyes soft, like a Hallmark actor. I found the pawn ticket wedged under his visor with a betting slip for a six-leg parlay on the Steelers and Mac football. Quick intro, I'm 28F in Pittsburgh, Shady Side. My ex-fiancée is 30M. We were together 5 years, engaged 7 months, and my grandma's diamond was my something old. Main story, my grandma's ring is the kind you see in black and white wedding photos, round diamond, platinum setting, a little worn on the underside where her life rubbed it smooth. She used to tap it on the rim of her coffee cup while she told stories about the mill closing and how she learned to stretch a roast into soup and then sandwiches. When she died, my mom gave it to me wrapped in a Kleenex. We cried in the parking lot of Eaton Park, then went in and ordered smiley cookies because grief makes you do childish things on purpose. I got engaged in November in the Strip, under those big bulbs by the cheese place, the ring snug on my finger and a promise in my mouth like hard candy. Tyler works in distribution for a beverage company that will remain nameless. He's a guy with forearms and charm, a laugh that makes other people laugh. For the first few months, it was Pinterest boards and vendor emails and me practicing my new last name in my head like a teenager. In April, he took the ring to get it sized and cleaned. I didn't argue. It spun on cold days and stuck on hot ones. He went to his guy he knows from work because in Pittsburgh, everybody has a guy for something they shouldn't have a guy for. A week later, I asked about the ring. He said they nicked the setting and needed another week. Okay. Week 3, I asked again, joking this time. He's waiting on a part, Tyler said, scratching the back of his neck. Week 4, I put my hand out to borrow his phone to order Thai because my screen was cracked. He tensed almost imperceptibly. I ordered on my own phone. Later that night, in the shower, I rehearsed asking him outright in a way that wouldn't start a fight. What if you just say, "Hey, can you call your guy?" my brain suggested, trying to be breezy. On a Saturday morning, I walked the dog, came back, and realized Tyler had taken my car to the car wash on Bomb because he owed it a bath. He left his truck in the lot behind our building, windows cracked. I am not a snooper by default, but I am a person whose stomach had been wobbly for 2 weeks and whose just ask nicely muscles felt torn. The sun glared on his windshield. I used my sleeve to shade it and then reached up to flip the visor down to block the light because my eyeballs were on strike. A small, yellow pawn ticket fluttered into my lap like a dead butterfly. The address was a place in Lawrenceville I knew by sight, but never by entry, a dingy storefront 2 blocks off Butler with neon, loans/guns/jewelry. The name on the ticket was his. Description: 1 ring, white metal, single stone. Amount borrowed, $2,400. Due date, already passed. Behind the ticket was a betting slip from Rivers Casino. Steelers plus the points, a random Tuesday night MAC game, a noon Big Ten 1, legs I couldn't pronounce. Amount wagered, $850. I read none of it out loud. The dog in our back seat yawned. Tyler came home 15 minutes later with wet footprints and a smile like a PR statement. "Road salt isn't a good look," he said, tossing me my keys. "Where's my ring?" I asked. No rehearsal this time, just plain. He blinked. "Babe, they're finishing the prongs." "I found the pawn ticket," I said, holding it up like a game show reveal. His face did that thing where every expression happens at once: shock, annoyance, calculation. He scratched the back of his neck again. "It was an emergency," he said. "Short term. My truck needed a new alternator and I didn't want to stress you out. I was going to get it back Friday." "It's Saturday," I said. He tried a smile. "You pawned my grandma's ring," I said, quiet because loud part of my body had left and my bones were talking, "to place a bet." It wasn't for a bet, he said. Oh, don't do that. It's disrespectful. $8.50 at Rivers, I said, holding up the betting slip like we were doing show and tell. His eyes did a micro flinch you could miss if you weren't looking for lies. That was weeks ago, he said, as if time makes numbers moral. I want the ring back, I said. Today. He started pacing 3 steps one way, 3 steps back, worn groove in his brain. Do you know what it feels like to be treated like a criminal in your own house? He said, like he was auditioning for a role I didn't cast him in. I'll make it right. You of all people should trust me. I grabbed my keys. I'm going to get the ring, I said. You can come or not. But it's not staying where it is. He came. The pawn shop looked like a place the city forgot to condemn. A guy in a Penguins hoodie was arguing about a snowblower in the corner. A glass case housed a parade of sadness, watches with initials, class rings, a necklace that said Taryn in cursive. Behind the counter, a man with a mustache that could tell a story and a woman with acrylic nails filed square. The man looked up. "What can we do for you?" he asked, the voice people use when they've already decided to tell you no. My voice came out too calm for my insides. "You have a ring," I said, sliding the ticket across the glass. "It's not his to pawn. It's mine. It was my grandma's." He looked at the ticket, then at Tyler. "She with you?" he asked, like I wasn't there. "It's hers," Tyler said, and half turned like he wanted points for that sentence. The man sighed. "Pawn's been defaulted," he said. "Technically, it belongs to us now." "It was stolen," I said. "I didn't consent to it leaving my hand." He nodded toward a sign taped near the register. "All sales are final. We do not deal with domestic disputes." "You can file a police report," he said. "If you do that, they'll put a hold on the item, and it sits back there for 6 to 8 months while the court decides if it's stolen and if you get it back. Or you can buy it back with the interest owed." "How much?" I asked, looking at Tyler like he might turn into a pile of laundry and slide under the door. $2, 400 plus fees, he said. "Call it $2,900. I felt hot, then cold. "Okay," I said. Tyler touched my elbow. "We don't have that," he said, in the collective voice menus when it benefits them. "I do," I said. He blinked because he did not know I had an emergency fund that didn't live in our joint wedding spreadsheet. Grandma again. I walked out to the sidewalk to call my bank. The woman on the phone called me honey and sweetheart and apologized like it was her fault the world was what it is. 10 minutes later, I had a cashier's check in my hand from a branch up the street where the teller wore a cardigan with daisies and looked like she'd watched this happen before because she had. In the shop, I slid the check. The man disappeared into the back and returned with a little black velvet box. He opened it. My chest hurt. There it was. A thing from 1961 that had acquired a small, soft dent in 1983 when my grandma hit it against the laundry sink, a story she always told and laughed at. I reached out, but the woman with the acrylics stopped my hand with 2 fingers, gentle but firm. "Photo of your ID," she said. I handed it over without chewing the indignity. The man put the ring on the glass. I didn't put it on. I closed my hand around it and felt my body remember it. Tyler said too brightly, "See, it's fine." I walked out of the shop and sat on the curb. Pittsburgh had that gray sky that makes everything look like an old TV. A bus hissed. 2 guys in Carhartt jackets yelled about the Pens power play. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom about Pyrrhus for Sunday. I put the ring in my jean pocket and put my hand over it like it might jump. Small USA local sentence. If you're ever in McKee's Rocks, Pyrrhus Plus will make you believe in butter as a religion. In the car, I said, "We're canceling the wedding." He laughed in that way people do when they think you've made a cute little joke with a knife inside. Stop. You're pissed. Anyone would be. We'll figure it out. Figure what out? I said. It wasn't gambling, he said. I was trying to get ahead. It's not like I'm at Rivers every night. You left a slip for Rivers in your car, I said. Right next to the pawn ticket. If you're going to be careless, at least be organized. He slammed his hand on the steering wheel once. The dog in the back flinched. You're being dramatic, he said. It was a mistake. It's a pattern, I said, and my mouth went very quiet. You think a future is a parlay. We drove home in a silence that had weight and corners. On the way, I texted my sister, "Can I come by?" She wrote back, "Doors open." She lives in Bloomfield and keeps a spare key under a gnome like a sitcom. I packed a bag while Tyler stood in the kitchen with his palms on the island like that would hold the room in place. I put the ring in a sock and then in my bag because I didn't trust the world or the building or physics. I took the dog on purpose because he was as much mine as anyone's, and because if someone was going to be a soft thing in a loud week, I wanted him to be it. Tyler said, "Don't do this." Do what? I asked. Blow up our lives over something we can fix. We are not the same species if this is fixable to you, I said. At my sister's, she handed me a beer and a bowl of pasta and a look that was a hug. Her wife made a bed on the couch like a nest and put a weighted blanket over the back like she'd anticipated the kind of sleep where your brain tries to sprint. I slept sideways, then up, then not at all. I sent an email at 2:03 a.m. to the venue, subject line, request to cancel. I wrote it like a work email. My fingers did not shake until I hit send. Update 1. I wasn't going to tell anyone, just quietly unwind, but the world loves narration. The venue called back, sympathetic, and used the word non-refundable like it had little bows on it. The florist was kind and said she could resell the weekend if I decided within 2 weeks. The photographer said she could give me a partial credit. The caterer, an uncle of a friend, offered to repurpose our deposit to my parents' anniversary if they wanted. My mom cried and said, "We don't want it like that." And then, "But that's very nice because she's Midwest disguised as Western PA. Tyler's mom invited me to Sunday dinner even though we'd gone nuclear. I went because I wanted to look at someone who'd known him before me and ask if I'd missed something big, and because I like her roast chicken. I brought the ring. We sat at a kitchen table that could talk. She poured me Turner's tea and put her hand over mine the way moms do when they can tell you're trying not to cry because crying would make it real. I pawed it, I told her. He pawned my grandma's ring. She closed her eyes. "Oh, Ty," she said like a prayer. "Oh, honey." Then she opened them and looked at me. "I'm sorry," she said, and pulled me into a hug that smelled like garlic and whatever perfume moms wear that says, "I will fight the sun for you." Tyler came in with a grocery bag like nothing had happened. When he saw my bag by the door, his face fell again into calculation. He kissed his mom on the cheek. He tried to kiss me. I held up my hand. He backed up like I'd hit him. "We're not doing this here," he said, which is the brave thing cowards say. "We're not doing this anywhere," I said. We left without eating. Later that night, his mom texted me to bring the ring to her house if I wanted a safe place to hold for a while. I thanked her, but I had already gone to the bank for a safe deposit box because the world had become a place where paper and boxes mattered. Tyler oscillated between apology and blame like a ceiling fan with a wobble. He sent long texts about stress and pressure, feeling like a man, everyone I know bets, and it's literally entertainment. He apologized for lying. He apologized for making me feel crazy. He apologized for making me deal with it. He asked me to send him the vendor emails so he could help, like someone offering to chop onions after they burned down your kitchen. I said no. I went to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting, for me, not him, to see if I was the cliché of the woman who loves a man and hopes a room can fix it. It was in the basement of a Unitarian church with stale coffee and folding chairs that had been through a decade of potlucks. People said things I recognized painfully. People said things we hadn't gotten to yet that scared me enough to tell my sister I wanted to skip town for a weekend. We drove to Erie and sat by a lake that pretended to be an ocean and ate bad pizza because sometimes you need to feel like a kid in the cheap sense to survive. Small USA, local sentence. If you're driving up 79, the Sheets at Grove City has the cleanest bathrooms. Trust me. I filed a police report because the pawn guy told me to, not because I wanted to watch Tyler in handcuffs. The officer was kind, took down the number, shook his head, and said, "Happens more than you think." He gave me a case number like a ticket to a show I didn't want to attend. He said the DA rarely pursues family stuff like this, but the paper makes a line on a map. Update 2, I thought maybe we could salvage. Not the wedding, that was gone. Not the trust, that was a ghost. Just something. A friendship? A less messy ending? I agreed to meet Tyler for coffee at a place in Lawrenceville that sells pastries in the shape of animals. He chose the seat by the wall so he could see who came in because he thinks like a bouncer when he's guilty. He cried. He has good tears, the kind that look like they hurt both of you. He said he downloaded an app that locks you out of gambling sites. He said he went to one GA meeting and knew it was for worse people. He said he'd self-banned from Rivers Casino, which I Googled later and found out is a thing you can do in Pennsylvania, and tried to be proud for a second until I pulled up our joint account and saw charges for DraftKings from that morning. I slid my phone across the table like we were playing cards. He looked at the screen and looked at me. I messed up, he said, going for the humble voice like an employee in a performance review. It's an addiction. I know, I said. He asked for the ring. I laughed because he cannot read a room. I'll fix it, he said, like he was talking about drywall. I'll pay you back. You can't, I said. Even if you do, you can't. He's a good man in a lot of little ways. He holds doors. He brings drinks in from the car in one trip. He remembers your parents' birthdays. He is broken in a way that reaches out and breaks the thing next to it. I put cash on the table for my coffee because I didn't want him to have a receipt to twist into a story. I walked out and sat in my car and turned the heat on high and screamed into my scarf because that's what we had. That night, a woman I didn't know DM'd me on Instagram. "This is weird, and I'm sorry if I'm overstepping," she wrote. "I used to date Tyler 2 years ago. He took my camera and pawned it, said he'd buy it back on Friday. He didn't. I thought I was the crazy one. You're not." I stared at that and my stomach did a weird wave. I wrote back, "Thank you." She said, "I'm sorry. We didn't bond. We didn't chat. We just existed in the same space for a minute, like people waiting out a storm under an overpass." I went through our apartment with a trash bag and gravity. I gathered his little altars, betting promos in the mail, empty white claws in the recycling he swore were for guests, a Rivers hat he claimed he didn't buy. I packed them in a box and put it in our storage unit with a label that said, "Tyler, pick up by Friday." I changed my passwords, closed the joint wedding account, got my name off anything it didn't have to be on, left him the couch and the TV because I didn't want the fight it would take to argue over rectangles. He showed up that Friday, red-eyed, picked up the box, and stood in the doorway like we were in a movie that needed a final line. He didn't have one. Neither did I. He left. Small USA, Local sentence: if you're sad and don't want to cook, the turkey Devonshire at Pamela's in Squirrel Hill will glue you back together for like an hour. Update 3: 2 months turned into 3. The wedding weekend came and went. My mom and I went to Kennywood instead and ate potato patch fries until we hated ourselves, and then bought a photo of us on the Phantom where my hair looked like a crime. We laughed so hard I snorted, and the kid behind us said, "Your mom's cool," and my mom pretended she didn't hear, but then told the story 3 times. Tyler's mom texted me updates I didn't ask for. He started counseling, she wrote. He has a sponsor. Then he lost his job. Then he moved in with my sister for a bit. Then he asked about you. I told her I was okay and needed distance. She sent me a picture of her garden, like flowers are a language. They are. I went to a Pirates game with my sister and ate a Primanti sandwich like a dare. I went to the North Shore on a Thursday and watched the river look like it always looks, stubborn, moving under everything. I started running badly on the trail by the zoo. I tried to date once and told the guy, named Mike, because all guys here are named Mike or Matt. On the second date, my ex pawned my grandma's ring to bet on the Mac, and he said, "What's the Mac?" And I laughed so hard I had to step outside. He wasn't a match, but it felt like a human moment to have something be funny. Late summer, I got a letter from the court about the police report. They weren't pursuing charges. Victim declines, it said, which is not exactly true, but close enough to the shape. I took the letter out on my porch, read it twice, then put it in the shoebox with other paper that makes life a line instead of a circle. Final update. It's been 10 months. I wanted a clean arc life, gave me a different shape. The ring is in a safe deposit box at PNC on Highland. I go visit sometimes like a weirdo and hold it and talk to my grandma quietly in my head like I'm returning it to a person and not a rectangle. I did okay, I say. You would have told me to run sooner. She would have. Tyler texted me once in September to say he had 90 days. He sent a picture of a coin from GA that said 1 day at a time and a selfie where he looked like the same person except his eyes weren't darting for exits. I wrote back, "I'm glad you're getting help." He wrote, "I'm sorry for everything." I said, "I know." He hasn't texted since. I hope he's still not betting. I hope he finds a life that doesn't require a ticket stub for proof. I met someone in October in a very boring way, a friend's cookout in Greenfield, deviled eggs, fold-up chairs. His name is Aaron. He's an electrician, which feels like a metaphor even if it isn't. He has 4 arms and also a savings account, and when the Pirates blew a lead on the radio, he said, "Of course," with a sigh that had no violence in it. I told him on date 3 about the ring and the pawn shop and the $2,900 and my small emergency fund that saved me from a bigger emergency. He didn't flinch. He said, "You did the right thing, and do you want to keep talking about it, or do you want to go get ice cream?" We got ice cream. My mom finally took the caterer up on the deposit for their anniversary. It felt less like blood money and more like we are people who use resources, which is how my grandma would have framed it. The DJ played Springsteen for my dad, and my mom danced like she always has to the beat in her own head. I cried in a bathroom with a floral pump soap that smelled like fake cucumber and said to myself in the mirror, "This is a good life," because sometimes you have to say it while your eyes still look like they're on strike, so your body remembers later. Small USA, local note, the best soft serve in the city is Jerry's on the south side. Fight me. Twist with rainbow jimmies. Sit on the curb. Watch a guy parallel park like it's a team sport. If you're in this mess, paper matters. Screenshots, receipts, phone bills, case numbers. You don't need to weaponize them. You need them so you don't gaslight yourself when your heart tries to rewrite. If you love someone with this thing, you can love them and not stay. You can stay and keep your eyes open. You can leave and not be a villain in your own movie. No is not an accusation. It's a sentence. I still wear a ring, sometimes. Cheap silver one I bought at a vendor booth in the strip on a Saturday when the world smelled like peppers and sugar. It's a reminder my hands belong to me. I might get grandma's ring reset someday, or I might let it be what it is, a little dented, very old, heavy with story. Maybe I'll get married in a backyard with paper plates and a Bluetooth speaker and a cake from Oakmont Bakery. Maybe I won't. The older I get, which is not that old, the more I want a life that feels like Tuesday. The night before I pulled the ring out of that pawn shop case, I slept with my keys under my pillow like a kid. Now my keys live on a hook by the door because my home is a place I don't have to guard like a fort. The dog snores. The radiator knocks once, like a neighbor, then settles. The city hums like it always has. Last small Pittsburgh thing because it makes me feel normal to give directions. Park on the backside of Frick if you don't want to deal with the main lot on a nice day. Take the trail with the little wooden footbridge. It makes a good thinking loop. Bring a thermos. Sit on a bench. Pretend the ducks are listening, and if a future walks by, don't be polite to it. Look it in the eye. Ask it to empty its pockets. If it has a pawn ticket, walk the other way. You will be okay. Update 4, 6 months later. I wasn't going to add more, but people always ask in DMs, did he ever pay you back? No. He sent $200 once in January with a note for the ring. I didn't reply. I don't think I'll see the rest. It's okay. Money is a measuring cup for choices. Mine is full where it counts. I ran into Tyler's mom at Giant Eagle by the rotisserie chickens. She hugged me for too long and cried a little. He's still trying, she said. I know you don't want updates. I just wanted you to know. We were normal for 5 minutes, standing between salad kits and the bakery, which is a soft mercy you don't appreciate until you get it. Aaron and I drove to Ohiopyle on a Saturday we didn't need to explain to anyone. We sat on a rock and watched people in helmets decide they wanted to be bruised that day, and we held hands and didn't narrate it. That felt like healing more than any talk. I took Grandma's ring to a jeweler who treats old things like they're alive. He cleaned it, didn't judge the dent, checked the prongs, and said, "You got yourself a survivor." I put it back in the box and then the safe deposit. I think I will let it sit there until I can pick it up without tasting metal. If you end up in the pawn shop, I hope you find someone at a teller window with a daisy cardigan. I hope you have a sister with a couch and a weighted blanket. I hope your mom knows about Pierogius on bad days. I hope your spine stays straight, even while your jaw shakes. I hope you find a ring light that is just a sun at 5 p.m. in August on your porch. No audience, no story, just you and your dog and a beer and the hum of a city that knows everybody's business and forgets it eventually. Take care of your hands. They carry more than rings. They carry endings and beginnings and those other long middle parts where you're just washing a mug and humming. That's the part I'm in. It's not flashy. The eggs don't stick. The dog thinks I'm a genius. Sometimes that's the whole miracle.